Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to interactive Sukhmani Sahib Ji session. So far we have completed 12 Ashpadis in Sukhmani Sahib Ji session so far. We're going to start 13 Ashpadi. And before we start, let us again do ardas in our minds to Akal Purukh Vaheguru to give us capability to understand the banis that Sadgurus have bestowed on us. Also, before starting, I'm going to recite some slokas from all the Ashpadis we have done so far. So far we have been doing all the sloks, been reciting all of them. So today I just want to recite maybe two from the beginning and two from the end, the first, second, and 11, 12. And then we'll start into the 13 Pori, the 13 Ashpadi. Let me share my screen so you can see all the slokas we have done so far. Still adjusting my windows. So yeah, these are all the slokas from 12 Ashpadis we have done. I'll recite the first two and the last two, and then we'll start looking at the 13th Ashpadi, which we have to start today. Satnam Shri Vahe Guru Sahib Ji Adi Gure Namahe Jugad Gure Namahe Sat Gure Namahe Shri Guru Devaye Namahe Deen Darad Dukh Panjana Kat Kat Nath Nath Saran Tumhari Ayo Nanak Ke Prabh Saath करण कारण प्रभु एक है दूसर नाही कोय नानक तिस बलहारणै जल थल महियल सोय सुखी बसै मसकीनिया आप निवार तले बड़े बड़े अहंकारिया नानक गर्भ गले. So last week we completed 12 Ashpadis. So 13 Ashpadi. On 12th Ashpadi, there was a talk about Ankar, right? It is to be humble, right? And the main a sense of that is to in a way to get rid of your home, right? It's all talking about in home, what do we do, right? In that Ankar, what all we do. And if we get the company of holy saints, if we get to Nam Japna, then how it cures that, right? How it cures everything for us. So this is now talking about this 13 Rashpadi is about Sant. And it is more about also Sant. There was another Ashpadi we talked about where it was about Sad Jan. If you are in a company of Sad, the saintly people, what all you attain, how successful your spiritual path becomes, right? That was what a company of. This is about if you know somebody is on that path, if there is somebody you know as a Sant Sad, but knowingly you are being You're slandering them. You're talking ill of them. You're not accepting it. You're coming in way for them, causing pain to them. What happens? This is about that. And we'll talk more about it, whys and all, right? I mean, before anyway we start, the one of the whys is also, right, the Sant Jan Sadjan for us, when we see the whole Sant and Sad as a complete, full, Sampuran definition of Sant and Saj, we only can visualize Satguru's, right, image. It's difficult to visualize somebody else, or maybe from time to time somebody is there, right? So we visualize Satgurus. And if you just do that as the Sant and pure Sadrup, how in those times in the history, uh, how many of people were there who were slandering them coming the way. There are so many names of their Pirthichan and the Sathab one, right? There's so many of them, and in the end it also says how it affects their life, who were slandering them and coming in their way, but it doesn't affect son's life, right? I mean, if it's on son, if they still forgive them, there is still a path for them for emancipation. But it's saying how bad is it to try to even do that, right? That's what it is about. So I'll recite it, and then we'll start looking more into the meanings. So 13 Ashpadi. श्लोक संत सरन जो जन परै सो जन उधरन हार संत की निंदा नानका बहर बहर अवतार. So you sing Sant Saran Jo Jan Parai, in the sanctuary of saints, the Sant Jan, if you come to their sanctuary, Jo Jan Parai, those people, right, who seek the sanctuary of saints, Sojan Udranhar, they are the ones who are saved, who cross this ocean of life, right, who are emancipated, who get their purpose of life, the spiritual path, they become successful in that. Because Sanjan are those who are already there, right? And now they have realized they are already there, they are already connected. They are they are either connected and attain that within this lifetime, or they are here because of their previous lifetimes, but they are the ones who are already attained it. And you coming in connection with them will also attain, right? Will also be saved, will also be emancipated. And how in the previous one it was all about, ahankar, how may, and then the question comes on how, right? And how do you even do that? Let's see, we become aware of all of this. How do you do that, right? And then all Gurbani is about that is through the company of those who have already done it, right? Sarjan, or who are on that path, right? So then it says Sant ki ninda Nanaka bahar bahar avtar. It says, those beings who have reached that state, who are living this life for with that realization. If you are slandering them, if you're coming in their way, if you're talking ill of them, O Nanak, then whatever state you are in, you know, your cycle of births and deaths is not going to resolve. So, what is Udranhar? Udranhar is you are, uh, the liberation, right? Jado Maya Mode Jalto, you have been emancipated, right? That comes many times, right? But if you're not, if you're still attached to that, then what happens? Then you are doing that cycle of
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
I think our connection is affected.
Yeah, I don't Can anybody else hear her? I cannot hear her.
No, I can't.
Okay. You
Uh,
want to call her? I think one just call her because she may not be
can you
aware.
call her?
I'm going to call her right now.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, she's gone.
I think she got to log in.
Yeah.
Okay, she's back.
Okay.
Uh, she, there's no sound.
Leah, no sounds chat. We cannot hear
Okay,
you. Now it is. There you are.
is there?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think some
All,
glitch happened here. So you can see my share now again,
all
right?
good. All good now.
I just set up my screen again. Okay, so we were still talking about the slok here, right? Sant ki ninda nan ka bahar bahar avatar. And that's where Sadhguruji is saying, if you get to that level where you start to slander saints and come in their way, what happens is you don't attain that where you are beyond that, you rise above that cycle of births and deaths, right? So that's what you are reincarnated over and over again, right? You are in that path then, right? So अष्टपदी संत कै दुखन आरजा कटै संत कै दुखन जमते नहीं छुटै संत कै दुखन सुख सब जाए संत कै दुखन नरक में पाए संत कै दुखन मत होए मलीन संत कै दुखन शोभाते हीन संत के हते को रखै न कोय संत कै दुखन थान पृष्ठ होए संत कृपाल कृपा जय करै नानक संत संग निंदक भी तरै सिंह संत के दुखद आरजा कटै संत के दुखन जमते नहीं छूटै. So this is, no, it's talking about all the effects you have in your life, right? If you get to that path, this is if you get to that slandering of saints, those who do that, their life is also cut short. No, Sant ke dukhan jamte nahi chute. What else happens? You never get escaped from that. It says that Jama, that messenger of death, right? His ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਰ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, right? It says if you are with Satguru, if you do the naam japna, it says, right, ki all their accounts are also erased, right? What they do is in doing with connection to the divine, so that Yama has no say in it, right? But it says Sant ke dukhan jamte nahi chute, you have no escape from that death, that messenger of death. Sant ke dukhan sukh sab jaye, slandering the saints, all your comforts, happiness just goes away. Sant ke dukhan narak mein paye, you surely fall into hell. Sant ke dukhan mat hoye maleen, mat, your intellect, maleen, dirty, impure, gets polluted, right? That purity just goes away from it. Sant ke dukhan sobhate heen, and your reputation is lost, starts going away, starts fading away. Sant ke hate ko rakhe na khoe. Says the one whom saints have cursed, whom they have turned away from them, nobody else, rakhe na koe, wants to keep them. Right? Nobody else can want to support them. They cannot be saved. Sant ke dukhan than prasht hoye. He says that that place inside their heart which has that purity, it's completely destroyed, brushed. They don't have that anymore. Now what does it say in the end? Sant kripal kirpa je kare. He says, but if that saint himself, out of his compassion, shows his kindness and mercy to such a person, Nanak Sant Sang Nindak Pitar. In that case, O Nanak, in the company of that saint, even that slanderer will be saved. He will be emancipated too. That's how it is. That it's it's showing how it is not affecting the saint at all, right? They are in their own path, right? They have achieved it. But if you are the one who are knowingly trying to get into such things, right, then this is what happens, this is what you do to you, right? But in the end it says that, if he shows your kindness to you also, whoever he shows your kindness to, even if you are a nindak, they'll be saved, they'll be emancipated, right? That's a greatness of saints. And then Gurbani, wherever they give that examples of whenever such thing happened, right? There are many examples of that nindaks who went to Akbar Darbar. There are nindaks who did multiple things, right? But in the end, um, they had there was certain punishment, and in the end, there is a story of those who were forgiven, how they were emancipated too, right? But also, it in a, what does it see? The other thing is about the Sukhmani Sahib is that in your inner core, right, of your soul, when you're reading Bani, when you're doing Sukhmani Sahib path, how much effect this thing has, right? I mean, that Sukhmani Sahib, Sukhmani, Sukhandi Mani, and how, what is that key to Sukhandi Mani in Sukhmani Sahib? And that all, as you read through it, you see how Sadhguru is using that you itself, right, that your own inner consciousness and you itself to create that sukh to you by giving you all of this, right? As your mind, your inner consciousness is feeling lot more and more, right, how much power it gives to you, right? And that itself cures, right? It's so also the other thing, right? So if the people, somebody who is on the path to saint, right, and like there's all this about being humble, sukhi basai maskinia, and then question comes is, I am a dust of feet of everyone, I can be a maskinia. What happen if people, but how about there are people who do all these bad things to me? So it is very important for Sadhguru to tell us that this is what happens to those people too, who try to do bad things to you if you want to be on that path, right? So that's important too. संत के दुखन ते मुख पवै, संतन के दुखन कागजों लवै, संतन के दुखन सरप जोन पाए, संत के दुखन त्रिगद जोन किरमाए, संतन के दुखन तृष्णा में जलाए, संत के दुखन सबको छलाए, संत के दुखन तेज सब जाए, संत के दुखन नीच निचाए, संत दोखी का थाओ को नाहे, नानक संत पावे ता ओए भी गत पाहे, Sant ke dukhan te mukh pavai. He says if you're into the slandering of saints through your mouth is becomes dry faced, to muh tedda ho janda hai, right? He says santan ke dukhan kaag jyon lavai. He says like lavai, kaag is the crow, jyon lavai. Lavai is talking nonsense. That's saying too much, saying something without knowing what you're saying. It says one croaks like a crow, right? Santan ke dukhan kaag jyon lavai. Santan ke dukhan sarab jon paye. Sant ke dukhan trigger jon kirmai. This is talking about those who are doing such things. What do they get into the reincarnation in the zone of a snake? And it's supposed to be bad because it says that, oh, they have a very long life, as a crawling creatures, right? It's no fun being in that kind of life form, right? Sant ke dukhan trigger the zone kirmai. This one is reincarnated as a trigger the wiggling worms. Kirmai is these worms and all, right? The ones, the creeping creatures, right? Trigger John Kirmai. Santan ke dukhan trisna mein jala. He says your desires, trisna mein jala, you burn in those fire of desires within you. In a way, you have those fire of desires, something wrong in there of that, so much of that right, that ahankar, that you are doing it too, right? If you are doing that kind of thing, someone who's indulging in it will be already burning with that kind of desire, right? Sant ke dukhan sabko chala. He says such a person who does these things, they will just deceive. Chala is they will deceive everyone, right? If you hear someone, oh, they are, somebody is doing it for the righteousness, they are doing it for the right, they're doing it in connection to that oneness, but there is somebody else trying to talk ill of others, you immediately know that these are the people you cannot trust. They can deceive everyone. Sant, they have their own agenda, they have their own goals, right? Which are not right, and which are not in alignment with that oneness, with that universe, with that spiritual path you are in. Sant ke dukhan tej sab jaye. Tej Pratap, the radiance. Just once you start doing that, those who are into that, all their radiance, their influence, it just vanishes. Sant ke dukhan neech nichaye, neech lowly, lowest of the lowly you become. Sant dokhi ka thao ko nahi, thao ko nahi, there is no place for them to rest. They'll be wandering forever. Nanak sant pave ta oe bhi gat pahi. Now, in the end, every time, he says, oh Nanak, if the Sant, if it pleases that saint, even such a person, if a Sant is pleased by that person, even then they are emancipated. Gat ho jandi hai ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ. They can also be emancipated. For them, this is like, this is sub enemy or sabnu samsar they jandiya, right? They consider sad san, they says, they consider the enemy or the friend the same, that dukh or sukhnu same, is everything is equal for them, right? So this at the level of a sant, if such a person pleases him for something, even then they can be saved. Sant ka nindak maha attai, Sant ka nindak खिन टिकन ना पाई. संत का निंदक महा हत्यारा, संत का निंदक परमेश्वर मारा. संत का निंदक राजते हीन, संत का निंदक दुखिया और दीन. संत के निंदक को सर्ब रोग, संत के निंदक को सदा विजोग. संत की निंदा दोख में दोख, नानक संत पावे ता उसका भी हुए मोख. संत का निंदक महा attai. Says those are the people who are like tyrants, the brutal people. Those tyrant kings who have been there. It says it's worst evildoer. Says that's why they are. I mean, that's their qualities. That's what they end up doing. And we know from history there had been, right? And of course, it's all written in history, and we see in our day-to-day life too, right? Sant ka nindak maha attai, sant ka nindak khin tikan na pai. This is the slander of the saints. They not even get a kin in even a moment's rest. They don't get that. They don't have that peace in them. They don't have that rest in them. Sant ka nindak maha hatyara, sant ka nindak parmesar mara. Says such people, they're just brutal, like butchers, this hatya karan wale, right? Sant ka nindak parmesar mara. He says, you know what? That Sant ka nindak has been already killed by Parmesar. He's nowhere there. He's not living a life. He's already dead. There's no attachment. Not even that he has a separation out of ignorance. The God himself has separated completely from him. Right? They don't have that in them anymore. It's cursed by that Vaheguru himself. Right? All this is just to show how much protection, how much support is there for those who are on the path, right? And also to tell us, right, there's no need to get worried and leave your path because there are people who are trying to do this to you, right? There are people in power, people with kingdom, people with anybody, and you there's no need to leave your path because that's happening to you, because there's that Vaheguru who is taking care of them. This is all what happens to them. Sant ka nindak raj te heen. Their kingdom is also gone. Heen. It's they've become void of it. Sant ka nindak dukhiya or deen. They finally become very miserable. Deen, they have nothing, poor. Sant ke nindak ko sarb rog. All the ills and illnesses and diseases come to them. Sant ke nindak ko sada bijog. They've remained forever separated. It says here, it's like it's been Parmesar Mara, right? They are forever separated. There's no element of connection with them, uh, just there's no sahed, they're not doing anything in accordance with that connection to Vaheguru. All their acts are just by themselves, right? They're not connected to anything. They're forever separated. Sant ki ninda dokh mein dokh. This is, doing that kind of thing, dokh mein dokh, is the worst of the sins you commit. Nanak sant pave ta uska bhi hoye mokh. Now again it says, now if it pleases to the saint, ta uska bhi hoye mokh. Mokh is again getting a liberation. Mukt hona. So then this one may be liberated too. Right? I'll cover this one in this pada because they're all kind of the same until we get to the last and we can discuss. Sant ka dokhi sada apavit, sant ka dokhi kisai ka nahi mit, sant ke dokhi ko daan lage, sant ke dokhi ko sab tyage, sant ka dokhi maha ahankari, sant ka dokhi sada bikari, sant ka dokhi janme mare, sant ki dukh na sukh te tare, sant ke dokhi ko nahi thao, नानक संत पावे ता लय मिलाए. Is Sant ka dokhi sada apavit. Consider them that they are going to be forever impure. Apavit, impure, right? Apavittar, pavittar is pure, forever impure. Sant ka dokhi kise ka nahi mit. They actually are not, they cannot be friends to anyone. Sant ke dokhi ko daan lage. Daan is the punishment, dand lagna, punishment. Sant ki dokhi ko daan lage. They are punished. Sant ki dokhi ko sab tyage, the slander of the saints. Tyage is abandoned, right? Everyone eventually abandons them. Right? Sant ka dokhi maha ahankari. This is the slander of the saint is they have lot the greatest of that ahankar, that very egocentric, and that's where it connects, right? That sukhi base maskiniya, right? And vade vade ahankariya nanak garab gale, right? So that's why it's coming to this one now. That's what those ahankaris are, right? And they are in their ego. They do everything in their ego, right? Sant ka dokhi sada bikari. Bikar karna is doing the thing which is of no use, doing this task and so whatever you're doing is of no purpose, no use, right? Nothing comes out of them, useless things, right? It says forever corrupt. Whatever they do, the bikar. Saint is forever corrupt. Whatever they do is a bikar. It's, never become successful. It's useless things. Sant ka dokhi janme mare. Again, he says, such people who do the slandering of saints, they must endure birth and death. Sant ki dukhna sukhte tare. This is the slander of the saints. There is no tare is go, something goes away from you. All that comfort, that peace just goes away from you. You come devoid of that. Sant ke dokhi ko nahi thao is the slander of the saint. Again, saint has no place of rest. Thao again is a thao piche kya siga, right? And now again it's saying Nanak Sant Pave Ta Lay Mila. It says Nahi Thao, he has no place inside their heart. It has all gone, right? There is no connection left. It's become totally impure. That place inside their heart where they can find that one that it's completely gone. But now they say, if it pleases Saint, then he can again connect that. He can again make that place in their heart and connect them to Vaheguru. He says they become separated from him. That place inside their heart is completely becoming impure. There is no such place, rest for them. But if Saint wants, they can again connect them, reconnect them. They can merge them with Vaheguru. So usually, this is all the same message, and it's a very strong message. And if it's in a Bani, it's all truth too, right? Right, that doing that part itself, that practice of path and doing path itself has its impact, right? There are people, there are saints, Mahapurakh, who says, oh, for something you do 40 Sukhmani Sahib path, right? And this is all that's the key Vaheguru has put in there, right? How you use your own inner core, your inner self, to have this actually come out of you too, right? That if you are in that, if you're facing such a situation, right, how that really takes care of that. And normally what happens is when somebody is doing earth for that, if you see the kathakars, right, there are thousands of stories you can attach to each one of those, right? This happened in this story, this happened in this historical thing, and they attach it to. But still there is all this big message, like understanding the depth of them, of each of these words, is very important. So we can any comments so far, or anybody wants to say anything or any clarifications?
Yeah, the Sant, basically a true Sant, and Malik is one and same anyway. So because Malik is also very kind, loving, and forgiving, I guess the sant, a true sant, is also same. He is always there to help, no matter how much somebody is impacting. So, in this case, Babaji talking, the Barney talking about the sant. I guess somebody in the physical form. I guess there's always sant on the earth, right? The earth is never without a sun. But sometimes people, we may not know who truly is sant, right? Brahma Gyani keval sabram gyani jane. So I guess the message is basically never to have anything negative about anybody because we don't know who somebody is. So that's, I guess that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, see, the sun, personification of sun, right? I think I got that last time somewhere. The definition of sant, right? There was a sad we got. There's a true sant, jina saas gras na visray, har nama man mant, tan se nanka, puran soi sant. So that's kind of if you define sons, and for us the sons are such in a full sarup of that is, but this is an embodiment sons. Paulji, it is not about that Parmeshwar. They are talking about the person as a human body son. Okay, pure. This is what it is. The whole part is what it is, and it's about sons, a true saint, but it is also about us as seekers who are on that path to tell us too, right? That if right, that not to be afraid, right, stay on that path. If we are trying to be on that path, for the seekers who are on that path, any person who is trying to do something right, uh, in a righteous way, that's what it means, right? I mean, that Vahiguru is with them. That's what this means. It is for us also,
Okay.
right? And it is also for the because it's telling you, of course, there's a certain, we have that element of, everybody has that element, right? Those who are on the seeking path, they are there because that it's that awakening is happening in them, right? The people who, these kind of questions come, I mean, the first sign of being on the spiritual path is that questions start coming to them. Something inside you is bringing that questions to you. You want to be on that path, right? So with that respect also, the other way to say it is, somebody is on that path and trying to be on that path, it's related to those people too,
Mm.
right? You are coming in their way, or right, lot of the kathakars do katha with that. A lot of bring those examples too. You know, they give example of somebody who wanted to be on the path, started practicing, and somebody came in their way, or somebody in their home doesn't want them to, and this is what happened. But a lot of people do that kind of katha with this body, this Ashpali too, right? It's, but
But
Hanji.
the people who are doing negative comments or statement, what do they get out of it? Why even bother going in that path? Because it's only going to give you
Yeah, no,
pain.
but there are people, there are all kind of people, right? There are there, right? There is, but I think what it is also is to truly appreciate somebody who is wanting to go to that path, appreciate and help them. It's no use trying to condemn them.
Mm.
That is the, let them be, because everybody needs it. If somebody is trying to go that path, there's no need to come in the way. That is what Satguru is trying to enforce with this, right?
Yeah.
संत का दोखी अध बीच ते टूटे, संत का दोखी कितै काज न पहुँचे, संत के दोखी को उद्यान प्रमाये, संत का दोखी उछड़ पाए, संत का दोखी अंतर ते थोथा, ज्यों सास बिना मृतक की लोथा, संत के दोखी की जड़ किछ नाहि, आपन बीज आपे ही खाहे, संत के दोखी को अवर न राखन हार, नानक संत पावे ताले उबार। संत का दोखी, Adbish te tute. He says, if you come across such kind of people who do this, remember that their efforts in the midway, they're going to all ruin, they're going to break. Adbish, they will never reach to their final goal. In the midway somewhere, they are going to get broken apart. Sant ka dokhi kite kaaj na pahunche. Says none of their kaj, tasks, na pahunche, get accomplished. No, none of them will be fully accomplished. So be aware, such people, if you know of, they're not going to succeed. Sant ki dokhi ko udyan permaiye. Udyan in the wilderness permaiya is wandering. They'll keep wandering in their wilderness all the time. That's how what they do. That's how their state of living is. Santa ka dokhi ujjad paye. Sant ka dokhi ujjad paye. He says the slander of the saints. Ujjad is where nobody else is. In the end, they are just misled to that place where they are just by themselves. They are. The Vaheguru is watching, right? Because of this is how they behave, they do with others. Then finally they end up in desolation just by themselves. Nobody's ujjad vich chale jande, right? Sant ka dokhi antar te thotha. He says they become hollow from inside. This is what they do to them by not believing, by slandering the saintly people. What do they do to them? They become empty, they become hollow inside. Jo Sars, what does it mean? The hollow, there's no inner self to support them, right? It's like that weeds, right? They just do how that Maya or that forces that make them to act and do, right? There's no support. Jo Sars Pina Mirtak ki lotha. Right? Like what? He says before, like there is a dead body without any breath. See, they're like almost like neither dead nor alive because they're living a life like a dead. They're like a corpse. In a way, they are not living that life in connection with the life itself. Right? Sant ke dokhi ki jad kich nahi. He says they have no root left inside them. All their roots, their heritage gets cut. Once they start to do this, there's no connection left, no heritage, no roots left in them. There's nothing to hold on to for them. To khwar ho jana, that's what happens to them, right? Apan beej ape hi khahe. Then what happens? They're just by themselves. Whatever they do, because that's what they have done. Apan beej, they had put such seeds, and now this is what they have planted, and this is what they're going to eat. This is how their day-to-day life is. Sant ke dokhi ko avar na rakhan har. There is no other who can actually save them because of what they have done. There's no one else who can save them from it. But, oh Nanak, Sant Pave, Nanak Sant Pave ta layobar. But if it pleases that saint, even then, in spite of all of this, they can be saved. Ta layobar. संत का दोखी यूं बिल लाए ज्यों जल बिहून मछली तड़फड़ाए संत का दोखी भूखा नहीं राजै ज्यों पावक ईंधन नहीं त्रापै संत का दोखी छुटै इखेला ज्यों बाड़ तिल खेत माहे दुहेला संत का दोखी धर्म ते रहत संत का दोखी सद मिथ्या कहत कीर्त निंदक का तुर ही पया नानक जो तिस पावै सोई थिया। संत का दोखी यूं बिल्लाए ज्यों जल बिहून मछली तड़फड़ाए। Says Billana, like bewails, he cries out like this, like this, they just bewail. Jo jal bihun machli tarfly. This is what happens to them, like a fish out of water who is in such agony. That's what becomes the state of them. Sant ka dokhi bhukha nahi raje. Says they're so hungry, they're always so hungry, they never become satisfied. Jo pavak indhan nahi trape. So it's like, a fire, it is never satisfied by fuel. It needs more and more fuel. Right? And this is all, it's all related to that ankar and that home, right? How do they act in all of that, right? Sant ka dokhi chute ikela. It says chute, he's by himself, ikela. He just left. Chut janda saaryan tu. And he's all left all alone. Jo buar til khet mahi duela. Says like that one sesame plant is there, like that as a weed, that one sesame plant is standing inside a whole field, and duhela is dukhi, is very in a miserable way. That's how that they become. Sant ka dokhi taram te rahat. Says they are devoid, they become devoid of any taram, any faith. Sant ka dokhi sad mithya kahat. Whatever they say is now in connection to all the mithya, right? That's what they are. I mean, first of all, to think about it, right? Who will be Sant Kadoki? Somebody who has no appreciation of or acceptance that, oh, somebody needs to do an effort to be on that spiritual path, or no respect for those who want to. That means they're already devoid of that faith, right? That means they're already totally connected to mithya only, right? To that worldly falsehood, right? They total lack of that understanding, that knowledge. Right? Kirat nindak ka turhi paya. Right? Because they have total lack of that understanding. Kirat nindak ka, whatever they have been doing, their kirat, the ways of their life, nindaka of the slander, turhi paya, it's been predestined to them from the beginning of time. They're doing it because it's been predestined to them, preordained from the very beginning of time. That's their fate. Nanak Jyotis Pave Soithya. Now he says, oh Nanak, whatever pleases to that God happens. Right? They are doing it because they have done some karmas from before and they have to destroy their life this way, and that's why they are doing this also. They are in their own doing path.
So Linaji, if the fate of the son is also predetermined, how can he know about that, and what can he do so that may God bless him and kind of take away his past deeds and karma and save him,
Yeah. So
Sometimes
that's
right?
here. He says everywhere in Gurbani tell us, you, O human, Prab ki ustat karo din raat, naam japo. He keeps saying, if a slanderer looks at it and he accepts it and he starts doing it, but that's what it is, right? That's where the Satguru is. He's telling us the secret, and it's that kirpa on that slander, if he is going to know that secret. If somebody has done this, that's also kirpa, that's also predestined. If there's such people, and there's history to it, right? There's in the history it's written, right? Baba Shri Chandji, when for Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he said such, it's written in the history, it's written in a lot of grunts, right? He did such wrong words about that because he didn't get the Gurgadi. But later on, he became such a great spiritually enlightened person, right? There's all of these, right? It says, but you do it because it's preordained to you, but then you correct it too. You find out that, and this is coming into the sanctuary of Satguru. Jado Satguru ne ba farle, he's telling you all of this already. Right?
So how much is preordained, predestined, and how much is free will? Or is everything free will, or is everything preordained? And like Baba Shri Chanji, obviously, he was very, very evolved, because when he came to Guru Arjan Dev Ji, he only used the same words, Guru Nanak Dev Ji there, right? 17th Rashpati, when he started, right? He kind of said, okay, let's start from there. So basically, same as Malik at that stage. So how much is it all predestined? Like even for us, all sitting right now listening to Baba Jivani, is it all preordained, or is that something that we're creating of our own? How much is the free will and how much is predestined?
You always have a free will. And when you're born into, this is what all the Granth says, right? When you're born into this life, you're born with free will, plus you have your karmas with you. It's your choice if you find that out through your own experiences or learning, or through coming in the company of saints or satgurus, and then you start doing effort to come out of that, right? So that's the thing. That's this thing about the being a human, right? Being in a human form. That's the free will. And then how much of that, how much is of that influence of that karma is with you? Some of that, a lot of those karmas, they're unerasable, it says, right? You cannot, because you're born into this because of, but it's, what does it say? That you're also born into this life to erase those karmas. What you do instead, you actually collect more of them, and you go to the next life. So that's why it says, if you come into the sanctuary of a Satguru, just Satguru mil gaya is lifetime, then you are beyond you, then you can erase your karmas. That's a Sant and Satguru can erase those karmas. That's what the whole Gurbani is about, right? And there's a lot of other writings in other scriptures from different granths, right? In Hinduism also, there's a lot of them about karma, that this is what is going to happen, this Vastu Shastra, this karma, it has to happen. But that's not what Sikhi is. Sikhi is about changing that, right? About correcting that. Right? If you have that, you make use of, you do the Nam Japna, you do become in that sanctuary of someone who is there, right? Which is that Satguru, right? And you correct it for yourself, right?
That's
So
what Baba
how
Jivani,
much, how much is that is, I think answer to that is, Gurbani says that it's erasable, and it's free will is always with you. I mean, you always have a free will. And then when it says kirpa has a factor in there, because how will you ever get awakened what you are doing, right? So that's why I was saying that even those questions coming is a good, it means it's the starting of an awakening. You will come across many people who just totally don't believe in it. They're more than 70% out there, right? I mean, they won't. Right? There are a few who start to come to this understanding, right? To have such questions.
Mhm. I think like Baba Jivani, remember one of the pathis, it says, जिसनु अपने जिसनु अपनु करे बख्शीश ताका लेखा ना माने जगदीश, right? The Baba Ji बख्शिश कर दे उन्होंने तो फिर लाख, no more counting of the deeds. The deeds are completely erased in that case. So Baba Ji is giving us that capacity. जिसनु रब बख्शिश कर देंदा तो उदा, there's nothing to worry about. जिन्ना मर्जी कर्म अच्छे हों माड़े हों, it's all basically down to zero or deleted.
Yeah, so what is that Rab Bakshish? Gurbani purely says, without Satguru, you cannot get that. You can know it.
Ji.
You can know it, right? Inni awakening hogi, pata lag gaya, you can experience it, you can know it, that there are all these forces, factors coming, you can feel it,
जी,
but you don't know how to come out of it. And then you start to understand what is this, what is Satguru's trying to give you, why they give you mantra, they give you gurbani, they give you this practice, right? Oh, Chakravyuh Vishta Ai Hoya, na? This life cycle Vishta, we are already here, right? How much we can accept. So ignorance is a bliss also, right? How
yeah,
much do you know what is this Chakravyuh, right? And it's better to know what is this Chakravyuh by knowing there's a remedy to it than to know what it is, right? So
very true. Well, but everything will happen. Guru Kripa, Mali di Kripa, and Ali sab kuch hona hai. So that's all one can hope and request for. Your effort, with his kindness, he makes us do the effort that we do is also his kindness because he's making us do that. Harinderji, you were asking something.
This fine. I'm enjoying this discussion. Thank you.
And we're just trying to understand, clean up our own cobwebs in our head, making sure we have a little better understanding of Babi's Bani because it's so subtle, there's so many detailed stuff that Malik is trying to put across to all of us. So just so that the confusion is immense in the mankind and the whole earth or universe, but it's so hard to find that path, looking for the light, the inside light, the light that we're supposed to attract to and go in that direction. So when we minimize our errors or don't take a wrong path, going on the wrong path is very easy. And then trying to say, Baji, help us, please only bring those souls in our life who are reaching home or on the way of reaching home ahead of us so that we can follow that properly. That, that's all.
I also believe that this Ashtapadi also Satguruji has written to help those who are on this path to stay on this path.
Okay. Okay.
Tell you here, okay, don't stop this, don't go back, no, don't reverse it. So
Yeah, with kindness. And please,
yeah,
Babaji,
yeah,
help us all.
keep
So we can
keep
stay on that.
going, keep moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
संत का दुखी बिगड़ रूप होए जाए, संत के दुखी को दरगह मिलाए सजाए, संत का दुखी सदा सहकाये, संत का दुखी ना मरे ना जीवाये, संत के दुखी की पूजे न आसा, संत का दुखी उठ चले निराशा, संत के दुख न तृष्टै खोए, जैसा पावे तैसा कोई होए, पया किरत न मिटै कोए, नानक जाने सच्चा सोए. Says, संत का दुखी बिगड़ रूप होए जाए. He says he keeps getting bigger रूप, deformed, you know. संत के दोखी को दरगह मिलै सजाए. Says he receives punishment in the court of Vahiguru, whatever is that dargah, that in the presence of that Vahiguru. Sant ka dokhi sada sehkaiye. He says he's sehkda, yearns. He's always yearning for something, eternally in limbo. He says he's in that yearning thing, place, kadi fulfill nahi hunda. Sant ka dokhi na mare na jivaye. He's neither dead nor alive, right? He's not doing any good to anything, his death or life. Sant ke dokhi ki pujay na asa. If he has any desires, they will never get their hopes, never get fulfilled. Sant ka dokhi ut chalay nirasa. Says even when he departs from his life, it's all in disappointment. Sant ke dokh na trishtay khoye. Says you cannot get satisfaction. No one attains satisfaction by slandering the saints. Jaisa pave taisa koi hoye. So no, it's just saying, People do as it's pleasing to that Vaheguru. Paya kiratna meta koi. No one can erase their past actions. Nanak jana hai sacha soy. He says, "Oh Nanak, the true God alone, He knows. He's the one who knows everything. Why, what is happening, right?"
Yeah, there's a question, I believe,
Hanji,
in the chat box.
Hanji. What is the question? Saving pada today? Saving oneself. Payak, what is that? Can you comment on which line you're talking about? But I can just in general comment. Well, then this one, no one can erase their past actions, right? Yes. So paya kiratna meta koi. He keeps saying, right? In the whole Bani, it says everybody is doing what is in that accordance with Vahiguru, right? Whatever is their hukam which, right? It says hukam which hi karte hain, right? And then he also keeps saying, right? He says, what do you do? This is what you do. Prab ki ustat. In the last pada of the Ashpadis, always he tells what these people are doing, right? In every Ashpadi, right? The first few padas, he tells what is at from that angle, right? From that perspective, at a very higher of the whole humanity of this universe. He's telling what people are doing. In the last pada, and whenever there's such an Ashpadi where he says this karam is bad, somebody's doing this karam, somebody's doing this karam, then in the end, he always tell what is the right thing for you to do, right, and if you do that thing, then of course you are emancipated, right? This Nanak jane sacha. So in the previous pada it also says you do all of this, but if you get a glance of, if you come into that saint's kindness, right, then you yourself can be emancipated too, right? There's that Bani there from Satta and Bhavan also, right? I mean, in the time of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they say, right? And they went through it's a written thing, right? In the Guru Granth Sahib also. They went through this ninda of Satguru, and they went through all what happened to them. And there's about how they were forgiven. To an extent, they themselves reached that state of liberation. And then they recited Bani, which got put into Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji too, right? So there are past actions, and we are really strongly acting because of that, no doubt. But the whole Guru Granth Sahib Ji is about, the whole Sikhi is about not sticking to those past actions, going beyond them. A seeker is about going beyond them, and that's what it is about, right? Je Satguru mile, je holy saint mile, may we go to that path, and may we come out of that past actions. Otherwise, we are always doing that. And it clearly says, Tukka hege Gurbani, which it clearly says कि वो कर्म साध संत ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਰਮ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ erase ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈ. Clearly says that. There's also a difference between how that is translated and how it is written, right? Paya kiratna meta koi. It's written with a different kind of, Sadhguru has written it with a different kind of, right, how it has been literally translated. He's saying that ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਜੋ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ. He's not stamping on it ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ erase ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ past action. Something goes in their translation to, right, how somebody translated it. Any more?
So that,
Uh,
yeah.
Kulvinder ji has a comment in the chat, please. Can you look at that?
Yeah, I don't know which you comment on. Are we sinners or joining the light bond? But I know which pada is it, if you can tell. I don't know if you can speak, Kulvinder ji. Yeah, I don't know if you're specific.
Anji, Sat Sri Akal ji, I'm right here. I was on the Sikh Foundation kardi hai na webinar. I was on the other one, and also listening to you. But jada Sant ka dukhi hai, it was one of the paddas earlier, the translation was saved. ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ saved ਆਂਦਾ ਨਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਇਹ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਇਹ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, well, are you being saved or are you born a sinner? ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਜਵਾਬ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ ਤਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ.
Acha. Are you being, you're saying when it says everywhere it says mukat hona, right? That liberation, whenever there's a translation for your mukat or your liberation, are you being saved or what is the other question?
ਇੱਥੇ ਸੀਗਾ ਇੱਕ ਤੋਂ ਪੇਜ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਜੀ, ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਤਾਂ ਸਮਝ ਗਏ ਨਾ. ਬਾਣੀ 'ਚ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਲਿਖਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਪੀ ਹਾਂ, ਜਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲ-ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਰਫੈਕਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ. ਪਰ ਇਹੋ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਨਾ, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਜਵਾਬ ਦੇਣਾ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਚਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ sin ਦਾ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਐਡਮ ਈਵ ਤੋਂ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ, the question ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ are we being, would you comment on this, are we sinners or rejoining the light, born without sin?
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਲਾਈਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ, ਗੁਰੂ ਮਤਲਬ ਲਾਈਟ ਰੋਸ਼ਨੀ ਦੇਣਾ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਬਾਣੀ.
Yeah, so we are, what are we born, so are we sinners or rejoining the light? So see, in that Christianity, are we sinners, right? Are we born as sinners? If you call sin as, we are, Gurbani says we are born because of the ego, because there were previous karmas, right? Except for one or two exceptions of who are born for a purpose, right? I mean, they're enlightened beings, right? They are aware of their born, but a human is born out of their karmas and their ego. So if you translate that as sinners because you were doing things not in connection with that one and only divine, right? If that's called sin, that's yes, then you are born because of that sins, if you, that's what you call, right? And now what are you doing by practicing, by following this path? The more and more you practice this, that sins dissolve, you reach, you go towards that light.
ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹੋ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ. ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਹੈਵਨ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਉਹ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਰੱਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਪਸ ਜੁੜਨਾ. ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ? ਸੋ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਚਨ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਚਰਚ ਵਾਲਾ, ਕੋਈ ਜੂਇਸ਼ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਵੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ Sikhs are not born with a sin that we need to be saved. We don't have, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, we're all descended from Adam, Eve. Adam was perfect, but then Eve did the apple, that's why we have the sin, and now we're all descendant of the Adam, Eve. ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਜਵਾਬ ਆਮ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਹੁਕਮ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਸਫਲ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਅਸੀਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਚੰਗੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਰਵਾਂਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਜੁੜ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ, ਜਿਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਲੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ, ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਚੀਅਨ ਬੈਕਗਰਾਉਂਡ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਸੇਵ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਇਆ, ਤਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਕਮੈਂਟ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ. Right. So this all at the core, I think it's all the same, right? If you change the words, the Gurbani does say that we are born out of home, right? But it also says, the Gurbani has a big emphasis on what we should do in this life, right? And then it also says that because you are attached to, you're born with this Satguru's blessing, you're born already into, right? This with this Gurbani, it also guarantees you that you will be, even that saved thing is already guaranteed to you, if that's what you mean, right? So can then equally matha take liya, equally Satguru di saran vich aa gaye. A lot of the Mahapurush, they say ki you get into the Sikhi life to be emancipated also, right? There's some of them say, right? So that is in a way what you say is right. ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਪਾਪ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਠੀਕ ਰਸਤੇ ਤੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. ठीक रास्ते ते वापस आ सकते हो. I don't know what it means. So I know what, so rejoining the, like, so if you have done, okay, that's right, that Bakshanhar, right? He is a Bakshanhar, ਹਾਂਜੀ
That is true. He can forgive all your sins, but you don't do that thinking that that's what's going to always happen, right? That's but yes, you can correct it in the life. That always Gurbani always says, yes, you can save it in this whole body itself, it says, right? If you come in that contact with the holy saints, whatever you have, whatever sins you have done, if you translate as sin,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
there's a path to you. You can be that saved word, or you can be emancipated. Yes,
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ
that's true.
So Hardev, is there any news about Jesse? Is it going to be Wednesday night? ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਅਜੇ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਦੋਂ ਅਗਲਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਸੈਮੀਨਾਰ?
No, she has not given any information. I will talk to her and I'll post it again.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਡੇਟ ਲੈ ਲਓਗੇ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕੋਈ ਕੈਲੰਡਰ ਤੇ ਲਿਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ।
Okay, I'll talk to her.
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ ਲੀਨਾ। ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੇ ਏਰੀਆ 'ਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਸੈਕਰਮੈਂਟੋ ਇਲਾਕੇ 'ਚ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਸੈਨ ਹੋਜ਼ੇ ਲਾਇਬ੍ਰੇਰੀ, ਜੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਖਬਰ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣਾ।
Yeah, once we get back to that mode, open once the COVID Nikki issue is done, we will be starting all the functions, all the Nikki programs we had before. We'll be
ਹਾਂਜੀ
going back to that.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਾ ਲੀਨਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ 10 ਵਜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਮਹੀਨੇ 'ਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ।
Okay, ji. May I? Oh, is that right?
ਸੋ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ Hardev, maybe we can move one.
Hanji, I can talk to her, Devji. We can try.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਅੱਛਾ thank you ਜੀ।
Thank
ਫਿਰ
you.
ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜੀ, ਫਿਰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ।
Nice to hear you.
Happy Juneteenth.
Thank you, ji.
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ,
Congratulations.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ
Thank you, Leena ji. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leena ji.
ਅਕਾਲ।